We are here live on YouTube as always. I'm joined by our amazing cast. Make sure you like and subscribe, of course, to the Disney and Beyond page so you can catch our show every week. But we are live now on YouTube, and we are joined by Michael and Luella and Brittany, and we are all here and we are excited. And during the break before we started the show, we were actually talking marathons, half marathons, all the races that Disney had going on, or the race month really that Disney has in January, because they do the Disney World Marathon and they finish it out in Disneyland. And the amount of medals that I've seen this month is quite impressive because I've seen people with like 7 or 8 medals, it seems like, um, between the Coast to Coast Challenge and the half marathon, the marathon, the 5K, whatever else is going on. So a lot of races going on, and I will, we will kick this off with sending it over to Luella just to discuss her experience with the race, just because she was giving a great synopsis of what it was like. So I'll let her continue that, and we'll go from there.
Oh gosh, well, thank you. So we just completed the Disneyland half marathon weekend, which actually just came back for the last time it happened was 7 years ago. So it's been 7 years since Disneyland had a half marathon. It stopped for whatever the reasons. There's lots of rumors. It could be the city of Anaheim. It could be the building of Galaxy's Edge. But whatever is the reason, it's back. And I was very excited. There was a lot of people from all over the country. And it was super exciting. But I was mentioning how cold it was. And I think for me as a California native, um, it doesn't take much for me to get cold. But I think starting off a race at 40 degrees for anyone is cold. So so that's kind of where I was at, and I did the Disneyland hosted a yoga on one day, 5K, a 10K, and then a half marathon. And I signed up for the double dare, which is the 10K and the half, which I think is a lot for any one person to do 2 days in a row. But I did it. It was fun. I'm paying the price for it. The 10K did me no favors for the half. I didn't know how I was going to finish, but ran with some good friends. We were Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and there was some amazing costumes. And but I'm always shocked when I see elite runners, and they're barely dressed, and they are so fast. So, but what I think what's great about races, and I don't know if any of you have joined races, is you can be the most elite to the most novice, and you're all doing the same race and having the same goal and having a lot of fun. So yeah, I don't know if anyone has any questions, but the week before was Walt Disney World's marathon, and I didn't participate in that, but I have a lot of friends who did, and beside I think on Saturday, maybe some rain, maybe some thunder. I think everything else went without a hitch as well.
Yeah, they
What's
canceled
the
half of the race
Yeah,
here.
yeah, due to thunder,
Hmm.
I heard.
so I kind of get a sense of the layout at Walt Disney World because I've driven through it and I've seen the
Hmm.
tent set up. What is the layout for Disneyland?
Well, I
Because you
think,
don't have those
yeah,
little roads.
yeah, I think that was one of the reasons. And you don't quote me on this because I used to run all the races, but there's not enough land at Disneyland to get 13.1 miles. Then in my personal opinion, I don't think they can ever do a marathon. There's no land there. But a half marathon, about 6 miles of it is within Disneyland and DCA, and the other 6 miles is in the city of Anaheim, which is why it's very important to get that the city of Anaheim and Disneyland has to work together. And so there's a lot of road closures. We run by people's houses, the businesses, and so it's a little bit interesting, but it's still kind of fun. We run by the Honda Center, which is where the Anaheim Ducks plays, and the Angel Center. But it's not like at Walt Disney World where it's all at Walt Disney World. It's so huge there. There's just no room. It has to go into the city of Anaheim.
That's what I was thinking. We're either going to have to do a lot of loops through the park, which is why you're starting at 4 in the morning, because you can't do it while the park is open and guests are in there,
Yes.
So you have to go freeze your butt off at 4 in the morning at 40-degree weather just to get
Yeah.
out there and get a start.
No, exactly, because they want to open the parks, and it's kind of funny because when the race ends, the parks are open, and then you can see the faces of people like, "What's going on here?" Or I think but the biggest challenge is roads in Anaheim have to close. And so one of the things I had heard is just much more expensive to do a race in California because you need
Mhm.
the local police, you need to close the roads, you need to have all that security. So whereas in Disney World, it's all there, it's all in their land.
That's something that's always fascinated me about Disneyland is the relationship between Disneyland and Anaheim, the city. It's always it's having to play, and it seems like, and maybe I mean I've only been to Disneyland, 4 times, so I can't speak entirely about this, but just from an outsider looking in, it seems like over the years that relationship has been strained a little bit when it comes with Disneyland, and just because of some of the projects that they want to do. I know, or I've been told, I shouldn't say I know, I've been told that the people of Anaheim don't like it when Disney does fireworks. I don't know if that's true. I just what I've been told. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that it's understood with the fireworks. That's why, unless it's the summer, there's no
Hmm.
fireworks, or it'll only be on the weekend. And
Hmm.
for example, at the start of races, I have heard at Walt Disney World, there's lots of fireworks starting at the starting
Hmm.
line. That can't happen
Yeah.
at Disneyland, because even at 4 in the morning, if your house is there's houses literally right next to Disneyland. I don't think you'd want those fireworks, and so and including the nearest airport to Disneyland, John Wayne. I think no flights can fly in until after 7 a.m. So so that's why I think some people fly into LAX, which is a little bit farther, which is Los Angeles. But in general, I think I don't live in Anaheim. I'm in the city
Hmm.
over, but I know that a lot of revenue comes from Disneyland. It's probably the biggest employer. It's probably in Florida too. It's the largest employer in that area. So they have to work together.
Yeah.
And I guess plus the limited hotels out there, and then
Hmm.
they do have to spill over to the Good Neighbor hotels or just to anywhere where you can find room and it's affordable and you have that transportation. So now they are bringing in a lot of, I guess, commerce to the area for those folks who aren't local.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
That is definitely true, but what just based off of what I've seen, and I could be wrong, especially when it came to like um, getting permits for things and things like that, the city has been a little more hesitant with Disney than they have in the past. Just because it just feels like, obviously, Disney was a main or is a main business in that area, but it feels like as time goes on, and I mean, where Disneyland started and what was around it when it started and what it is now in the heart of a major city, it feels like that relationship is just a little bit, they're pulling the reins a little bit and not letting Disney kind of do whatever they want anymore as
Yes.
much as they used to.
Yes. Oh, I agree. And I think they probably get really involved. They you need the right people in the council.
Yeah,
So
of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anaheim's a big city too, so it extends pretty
I
far
mean,
out.
I guess it's good practice for the state of Florida being, and as as our governor has decided to take on Disney and Reedy Creek and all
Hmm.
the agencies that keep Disney World running, which I'm not even going to talk about that because I
Hmm.
have thoughts, but but it's good practice for things like that, and learning to deal with that because it's the same thing is unfortunately happening over here, with the way things are rolling. So
Yeah.
it's wild, but that's good to see that they're mostly not as restrictive as I thought they would or were being, because it seemed like, especially with like the new DVC expansion of the Disneyland Hotel, it seemed like there was a lot of red tape with that. And I could have sworn there was another project that was supposed to happen at downtown Disney where the AMC was, or something, another hotel or something, and then the city shut that down or something. That was a few years ago. I don't remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, I did at the time, but there was a different concept for the hotel
Hmm.
where the theater was supposed to be, and I think there was problems with the taxes, and there was different rules, like it had to be a 4 diamond or a 4 star. That's why I JW Marriott. Like if you wanted some tax breaks, I'm trying to remember. It had to be a 4 diamond or something. So that's like a JW Marriott just opened up, and that was going to be a 4 diamond, but then something happened, and then it just got scrapped. And there's other plans actually. It's looking pretty good. The new plans.
Well, that's good to hear, because yeah, it's such a unique spot, and it's crazy that did I could have sworn that I did I maybe I'm envisioning this, but did I just see expansion plans for one of the parks for a DCA, or I forget. I could have sworn I saw that or something. I don't know. I'd have to. I'm probably miss. I could have sworn I saw some rumor for expansion plans or something to one of them, and I
It
was
it
shocked
pro-
that.
yeah, it probably was, but I think what we've learned is, remember when there was going to be this whole kind of like Mary Poppins thing at Epcot,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
everyone's all excited. So I think I've learned, if until it's like done,
yeah.
don't count on it.
And the thing with the Mary Poppins thing is that was actually on the books, and they were actually like promoting it in a nonchalant way because they had that whole Epcot experience, and there was a little like nod to Mary Poppins coming to that area. So like it really was on the books, like it was really happening. But of course the pandemic happened, and then they had to scale back, and then that didn't happen anymore. But yes, that is something, um you know, uh, especially with rumors and things like that, and things that are I guess you would say blue sky projects, that uh, you know it's
Yeah, I think
still up
yeah,
in the air,
yeah, until
even as much as Disney may want it.
until it's there, I don't. You just never
Yeah,
know.
that's why I'm still shocked that as much of Epcot is done as it is, because I'm like, oh, we're here, it happened. So
Yeah.
anytime something happens, I'm like, oh wait, it really happened. Unfortunately, as bad as that sounds, but it's just with any of the Disney projects, like especially Tron, like we saw Tron come out, and then it was coming to Disney World, and it took so long to be done that when it was finally done, I was like, oh my God, it's here. Like it's so weird. It's sad to say, but maybe I'm seeing this from a local's perspective, but it's sad to say that I, when walls are not up at the parks, I get confused. I'm like, why is there not walls here? There should be walls. Like, how is this done?
Yeah.
So I understand. So all right. So
Well,
moving on from that, um, Brittany, did you have anything to say about the marathons or anything?
I am not a runner. I know nothing about it. My sister runs them. She does the Disney World ones. But yeah, I that is not my area of expertise at all.
I completely understand. I completely understand. Did you see Aunt Lou? Did you see anyone with like all the medals? Like, did you see anyone with
Oh,
like the 7 medals? I mean, it was
yeah.
insane.
It
Yeah.
was I they what people do is they put their medals and they line it up
Hmm.
here. And there was one guy, it was like two hands. He had all these medals, and I'm like, how are you still walking? You know,
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
was last week and then this week. So, kudos to them. And that's a big thing. I can't I barely survived doing a 10K and a half. I can't even fathom doing a marathon and then the next week running again. But the medals are adorable, and it's fun when they you see them in front of the castle with all their medals. It's cute.
It's not even the medals too. You have to, or the running, really. It's the travel. I mean, you're going
Yeah.
from Disney World to California, you're going across the country to finish. And I'm sure at some point Disney will come up with something that is a worldwide race that people will flock to, and they'll be going to every Disney park in the world
Yeah.
to run a race and get a medal. So I assure you, if Disney can find a way to make it happen, they will make it happen, because the marathon is like a cult following. All the marathons, people want to run every park. I mean, I get it. It's a unique experience to run inside the parks, and one day, of course, I want to do one myself. But I honestly can't see myself going and doing coast to coast and all these other things. Maybe once I do it, I'll get sucked in, and it'll be one of those things I want to continue to do. But I have no,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, even like the merchandise people go, merchandise purchasing was virtual queue. Can you believe that? Oh my
Wow.
God. Yeah. It was, um, luckily I got a low queue, but it was like a ride. At 7 a.m. I was like, oh my God, how do I do this? Refresh, refresh. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you guys don't have any virtual queues out there? Did you ever have one for Rise of the Resistance?
Oh yeah, we had Rise
Yeah,
of
you
the
had one there. You had
Resistance.
one
Yes,
for Rise.
Rise of Resistance opened up earlier, than
Okay.
you than Walt Disney World, and so I think that
Yeah.
was our first experience with virtual queue. And
Hmm.
then, when any new ride opens up, I think it's the same at Walt Disney World. It's virtual queue now. So, when Mickey's Runaway Railway opened up not too long ago, it was a
That's
virtual queue.
true.
It's not a virtual queue anymore, but, I don't think, I mean, just for the shopping alone, I was shocked that it was gonna be a virtual queue with shopping, because there's a lot of people that do run Disney. They don't do the parks. So that's all a new thing too.
Yeah, everything. It's I think the virtual queue feeds into the scarcity mindset, when it comes
Mhm,
to sales, and
mhm,
it's one of the things that's very popular right now is we've seen all across all shopping platform is drops, people doing drops of merchandise, so on and so forth, and it feels the same way with events like this. I don't
mhm.
think Disney really planned to make it that way, but it happened that way just because of the fact that of the way the merchandise works. It's an event and you're there, and they have to drop the merchandise for the event. So that just feeds into people's mindset to buy, 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 buy. And like you said, they just go crazy. I mean, they close down here, they close down the ESPN complex and have all the merchandise in there for the marathon, and it's like a huge thing. There's thousands of people in there buying shoes and everything else. And the more I think about merchandise and I think about Disney stuff, I mean, I love merchandise. I love buying things from Disney, but it's like after a while, it's like it kind of fades, and you're like, "Oh, I don't want this anymore." And then what are you gonna do with it? And maybe that's just something that I've gotten with age. But like, I look at people, like when I was younger, I would see someone on New Year's Eve that would have a shirt that said 2024, and I'd be like, "Oh man, I need that. That's awesome." And then now I'm like, "Wait, in a year's time, this shirt will be outdated. Like, what am I gonna do with this in a year? No one's gonna want it. Like, why?" So
Yeah.
maybe that's something with age, but I feel the same way with the merchandise for events and things. Like, you buy it, and then okay, it's great for that event, and then 6 months down the road,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
It winds up on eBay because you all these folks that went crazy for those 50th anniversary and then the 100th, the little toys from McDonald's.
Oh
And then after a
yeah.
while, you open the closet and go, "What the heck am I sitting on this junk for?"
yeah.
So it's a point of not getting caught up. I don't buy dated shirts and things for that reason
Hmm.
because I get uncomfortable when I'm walking through the park and somebody's still squeezing into their 2012 sweatshirt. I'm glad it's keeping you warm, but turn it inside out. Come on, it's over.
And I think the same for me applies to popcorn buckets too. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I love the new imagination popcorn bucket. It is fantastic. I think it looks great, even though everyone else thinks it looks horrible. I like that Figment's inside there. I love Figment. That's my childhood, so I'm all about it. But I cannot like I just I like I know like in 6 months, a year, or next year when they come out with the new popcorn bucket, I'm just gonna be like, I want that one, and then I'm gonna shove this one to the side, and I can't justify spending $30-$40 for a popcorn bucket that is only gonna, after so long, I'm just gonna want to get rid of it. I don't have a collection of these things.
See, my philosophy has always been, whether it's Christmas or whatever, I'm like, just because you're a Disney fan doesn't mean that your entire house needs to look like a Disney clearance store. Throw up all over your living room, your front house, everywhere. Don't need it. And a lot of these things wound up. You didn't. I'm trusting you didn't go, Robert, when they did the annual pass holder clearance event at
Yes.
ESPN, and they did for 2 or 3 days. They had that virtual queue, and people, and they think, "Oh my God, I'm getting my hands on stuff that didn't sell all year." So
Yeah.
okay, you're getting a little extra discount on it, but it's not exclusive stuff. It's not new stuff. It's stuff that's been sitting around that you didn't want at 20 off, but at 35 off, you'll take it. And you're still going to ask yourself a year later, what am I doing with this?
Yeah.
Well, I don't even think it's the fact that people wanted it at 35% off. I think it was just the fact that it was a pass holder event. People
Mm-hmm.
get so wrapped up into the shopping events and the event of shopping. Like it's like the outlet. If you go to the Character Warehouse outlet, it's always packed. And people are just buying everything they can get their hands on because they're thinking they're getting some amazing discount, and they can get Disney merchandise at this amazing deal. And the reality is they're usually not getting a huge discount. There's usually only like a tiny section in the store that has stuff that has been sitting in the store for a while where you can actually get, a big discount on. And people go crazy. I mean, the lines are out. They open up in the morning, the lines out the door every morning with people trying to get into the store to shop. It's insane. I mean, like, I'm sure they probably have 2023 shirts in the store, and people are probably lining up to buy those just to say they have it. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, I think if it gives them joy at that
Hmm.
moment, then it can be validated. But they sure know how to kind of get you to want it. Sometimes, like with the pins, the limited release, the limited
Hmm.
edition pins. Um, and sometimes I'll be in line holding it, and then if it's long, it gives me enough time to say, "Do I really want this?" you know.
Yeah.
But sometimes I
Yeah.
get into frenzy too when you're
Hmm.
around that. It's like this kind of mob mentality, but because
I
for
mean,
me, my weakness is and I know it's a bad weakness, is those tiki mugs.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes I go a little bit
oh,
nutso with those tiki mugs.
I mean,
Did
let's
you?
Yeah.
be honest. We all have our things that we go crazy
Yeah.
for when it comes to Disney stuff. Me personally, it's shirts. Anytime I see any cool like T-shirts or anything like that that have Mickey on them, or Walt Disney or anything like that, or anything crazy like that. Especially when they used to have that 23 in Main store, which was like the
Mm,
epitome of like sophisticated like T-shirts and Walt Disney wear, and then had like the tie-ins to Jungle Cruise and also I bought out like the whole store. So we all have our things that we push on. I'm not
mhm.
saying that I'm not saying this to to shame anyone for purchasing stuff. I'm just saying it's just crazy to kind of watch how Disney has, created this like culture where people just they gotta have
Yeah.
it, it's
Well,
insane.
this is just my opinion. I think what kind of also enhanced the culture and, is it could even be with food, is like Instagram, like people posting, and so
Mhm.
you're aware of it. Everyone can see it, even across the nation, across in other parts of the country, and then you want it. And then where can I go if I can't be at the parks? I'll go to eBay.
Mhm.
And so it's,
Yep. How
I
about you,
think
Brittany? Is there anything you collect? What's your weakness?
Mine, I love the mini ears. Like
mini ears are adorable.
I
Yeah.
know I go and I mean, I have a whole wall downstairs. It's actually my Disney room, is what I call it, and it's just filled with mini ears because anytime there's like a new set of ears that come out, I have to get
Hmm.
them. So that's my weakness.
Yeah.
How many do you pack to go on your trip? Do you take them with you, or do you just buy new ones when you get there?
A little bit of both. So I pack way more than I should. Like if we're there for 7 days, I'm usually packing like 10 pairs of ears just because at the time, like I can't decide what I want, which ones I want. And then I always end up buying more. So yeah, I'm pretty bad on the mini ear front. My husband also does not help because he knows I love them and then he orders them from Shop Disney or whatever. And like so he does not help my addiction, but yeah.
Yeah. And they're so cute. I just,
They are.
yeah. And
They're
now
adorable.
these events had one. The Run Disney had some
Hmm.
ears, and then you can turn it and it was running. It's like, oh my God, look how cute those are. Getting much more even elaborate.
I agree 100%. With the mini ears, the one mini ears that I will never forget is the rose gold ones. They came out with the rose gold ones at Walt Disney World, and they sold out the entire stock, and they were not expecting it, and they sold out within like a day, and they were completely gone. And then like 2 weeks later, every store on property had them. There was not a store that did not have them. And they still have them to this day because they have not been able to sell through the lot that they stocked up all the stores with. But I will never forget that because they took a huge gamble. And I mean, maybe they sold a lot more than I, you know, after the fact. Maybe I just didn't see it because they were everywhere. But they immediately got a shipment in and got that restocked. It was pretty insane to see.
The rose gold ones were a must for me. So I have the rose gold ones and I have the matching rose gold loungefly. And those are two that I always have to take to Disney with me. So
Those are cute. That's a
yeah.
cute one.
I will say the Loungefly backpacks are pretty awesome, and they're actually like really good quality backpacks. I know I've bought a few for my daughter, so I understand those I think are worthy because they actually have some really cool. I've seen like a really cool Peter Pan one and a couple others that are just awesome, and I even saw one recently that actually lights up or does something with lights that was really neat. So those are pretty awesome.
Yeah, those are really cute.
Do you have any favorites, Brittany?
The loungeflies, you know, I'm a huge Buzz Lightyear fan, so I do have the Buzz Lightyear loungefly. That's probably, if not my favorite, one of my favorites. And then I have the Dumbo one when they did the main attraction Minnie Mouse and Mickey Mouse
Hmm.
releases. So I have the Dumbo one, and that's a favorite as well.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, and with this show, I know we've kind of veered off here. We were talking about the marathon, and we were talking about the merchandise and shopping and things like that. We kind of went off into that tangent, which that is a big part of Disney nowadays, it seems. But what I really wanted to talk about today was I wanted to delve a little bit and get your guys' opinions on attractions, but not necessarily um, any specific attraction. Well, I guess yes. I wanted to get your opinion on attractions around the world. Number one, and number two, we've seen a lot of copying when it comes to Disney attractions. So like California has their own version of Galaxy's Edge. We have our own Galaxy's Edge over here in Walt Disney World. So I wanted to get your all's opinion on that because it's something that, when they started doing that, it's for me personally, it's kind of been a sore spot because it takes away the exclusivity of other parks by not having distinct attractions. Why go to Rise of the Resistance here when you can do it in California or so on or vice versa? So I wanted to get your guys' opinions on that because we do have a couple of attractions here that are in other parks. And why do you think that is the move for Disney? So who wants to go first?
See, the way I'm looking at it, I always think that some people have this mentality where it's my home park. This is the only park I'm ever going to go to. Why would I go to California when I can stay in Walt Disney World? They have this fear of who knows, whatever it is. I don't know if Disney just tries to share the wealth. I mean, if every park was identical, then I would have no reason to go out to California. And I don't want everything to be a copy. You know, am I ever going to? I went to Disneyland Paris. I don't see myself going to China anytime soon. Japan, anywhere in Asia. So would it be nice to, you know, you bring Tron here? Is it a copy? I have no idea, but I think it opens up the ability to ride things you might not otherwise see. So I can see both sides of it.
I can.
Oh, did we lose Luella? I think we lost her.
She'll be back.
I think she lost her connection. Okay, well, I'll just go into my thought on this. So I understand what you're saying, Michael, about home park and not getting to some of the other parks and bringing it over here. And while I do um, appreciate having something like Tron over here, and I thought it would be a long time before I got out to uh, Shanghai to actually see the original Tron coaster. Um, so I totally understand that feeling. But then again, like, like what's the incentive? If they keep doing this trend, what's the incentive to go to the other parks? I don't know. I like me personally, I like having different things at different parks. It gives me more of a want to go to that park for something else. I mean, obviously things like Disneyland are always going to be Disneyland, so you're going to want to go there because that's where it all started. But like a Shanghai Disneyland or a Hong Kong Disneyland or Tokyo Disneyland, like, you know yes, Tokyo Disneyland is that one will forever be different in my opinion, because the Tokyo what the land corporation or the Oriental Land Corporation owns that, and they put a lot more into that financially than, or they do a lot more with that park. Now let me say, let me rephrase, they do a lot more with that park than we do at the other parks, just because of the outside investment, I feel like, with that. So there are a lot of different things there, but it feels like a lot of the stuff that we have Ratatouille, which they have at in Paris. How long before we have a Zootopia over here? It's like, I don't know. It just makes if all the parks were the same, I don't know. It just wouldn't be. Maybe I'm being too much, but maybe I just feel like it wouldn't be as exciting to travel to these other locations, because I can get the same thing where I'm at.
But then you have somebody like Brittany, who's going to have 2 children. Maybe her daughter turns out to be a huge Zootopia fan.
Mhm.
The likelihood of her getting the family on a plane and flying
That's
13,
true.
14 hours to be able to see Zootopia and spend lots of money over there rather than bring all of her cash to Walt Disney World, where they would very much appreciate her dumping her wallet out and buying all the Judy Hopps and all the Nick Wilde stuffed animals. I think at the end of the day, it's what merchandise is going to sell. After a while, Dino Land goes stale. You don't have any real tie-in there. No super merchandise that people are going to go crazy for. So you might be limiting yourself. So maybe you look to revamp Animal Kingdom and bring in something that will generate more revenue.
That definitely makes a lot of sense. And welcome back, Lil. I think you got disconnected when you were giving your point, so I'll let you go ahead and speak. But oh, she left again. Okay. But yes, I totally agree with you. It is at the end of the day about what sells and what gets people into the parks, and it doesn't matter, you know, as long as the dollars are coming into the park, what does it matter? I guess is the right way to look at it, because that's what the way. I mean, Disney is a business, and that's the way it's always going to be.
And then even when if they do add, a new ride or they bring something from another park, I think it will spark repeat business. But your first time park goer may or may not care about a new ride. I don't think that's what's going to get them to finally save up their money to visit the park. For everyone complaining that there's no nighttime parade currently in Walt Disney World, adding a nighttime parade is not going to be what gets somebody to go, hey, maybe we should finally visit Walt Disney World now. They have a night parade.
I I really think that I'm really stuck on the fact. So the company that does the parade or the nighttime show, I call it a parade because that's what they call it, but the nighttime show at Paris, the one that we just saw released, which is mind-blowingly good if you haven't seen it yet, the Electrical Sky Parade.
Durham.
Um, the Main Street Electrical Sky Parade is incredible. The company that does that actually is has opened an office in Orlando. So I would not be surprised if we get that show here or something very similar to that show in Orlando. And I would not be surprised if we see drone shows at other parks, probably Universal. Especially with Epic Universe. I think they announced that there was going to be a drone show at Epic Universe. I don't know, but I would not be surprised if we see that here as well. It would not shock me at all. I mean, parks across the country have been doing those shows. Um, there's been drone shows at multiple different theme parks. I mean, Dollywood did an amazing drone show as well. Drone shows are definitely, I think, the future because of the fact that you don't necessarily have to have fireworks. You can light up the sky this way, and it's just as fun in my opinion. And welcome back, Luella.
Sorry, I was having so much connection issues. Sorry about
No
that.
problem. So I'll let you go into your point earlier. We were talking about the copying of attractions. What were you saying?
I think I was talking about Galaxy's Edge, how Walt Disney World and Disneyland is exactly the same. It's exact carbon copy, but it's such a big franchise, and having the Millennium Falcon and everything, I think
Hmm.
it's okay to have that exact same land. But you're right, it'll be just a carbon copy. Cars Land at DCA is amazing. It's amazing. But it's kind of nice
It is
that you
amazing.
guys can come to see Cars Land and then we can go there to see Pandora. Although I heard something they're going to do something about Pandora here. Marvel over here, and I know that has a lot to do because Universal has Marvel, but
Hmm.
Avengers Campus is just going to get better and better. So um, I think it's nice when you have the ability to go to both parks, but if you can't, maybe there's something that's inspiring in that park and they can have one type of ride and be a little bit different. Like we have Indiana Jones and then you have the stunt adventure there at Hollywood Studios, although I heard that might change too. So it's always evolving. It's always evolving. Yeah.
I really think the future with Disney is going to be. I don't. I think that they're not going to. I think we're going to see a lot of clones. I think that's just going to be the future. I mean, it's a lot less for them to
Hmm.
in design to have to design something and redesign a new attraction, and it costs them a lot less to just to take something they already have a design for and put it in a different park. So I think from a cost perspective, it's probably way more cost effective for them to do that. And Michael's right. If it sells merchandise and gets people into the parks, and why not? If it gets people excited. I mean, let's be real. Your average theme park goer or your average Disney World goer is not going to be as nitpicky as someone who has been to the other parks and has been to Disneyland and other parks like myself. So I mean, they're not going to care. They want Tron there because they want to ride Tron. They don't want to go to Shanghai. They'd rather go to Walt Disney World because that's where they spend their one vacation every year. So yeah. I totally think that's where it's going to go. And I mean, yes, it does take away from the exclusivity of having those rides in other parks. But then again, from my perspective, um, which is a completely different subset of theme park goer than most people. I think the majority of people wouldn't mind the clones.
So I don't know if you talked about this when I wasn't when I got disconnected, but what's your thought on it's a similar ride but a little bit different version, like the Haunted Mansion? They're the same but they're different. Space Mountain, the same but different. Like, is that would you consider that a clone, or would you consider that being two distinct rides?
Well, Brittany has to go soon, so I'm gonna let Brittany chime in on this one
Mhm.
but I have thoughts on this too. So
I yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. That's a tough one because I see both sides. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I would still consider them different. Like I guess you take Haunted Mansion for example, and I know what Disneyland does with their Haunted Mansion is more seasonal, like how they decorate it. They do the cool stuff, honestly, for um, the
agreed.
yeah, the Christmas and Halloween stuff, where Disney World does not do that. So to me, I mean, that's different. Like I know my parents,
Mhm.
they go to Disneyland anymore. They go to Disneyland more than they do Disney World, and they actually prefer that version over the Disney World version just because they really deck it out. So it makes it different. It puts a whole different spin on it. So again, I know that's something seasonal that they do. It's not a year-round thing. Um but yeah, I mean, and even like something like Space Mountain. I know Space Mountain in Disney World, it's like the single seat, and Disneyland it's you know two seats together. Now, I'm kind of funny about that because I'm not a huge roller coaster person. So, like, you're more apt to get me to ride Disneyland's version than you are Disney World's, where I can actually sit next to like my husband and cling to his arm and scream.
Yeah, yeah.
So to me, I feel like they're the same, but they're different. You know what I mean? If that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And I totally and I will say that if minor differences like that, especially, well, I shouldn't say minor, but like this, like what you brought up with Space Mountain, that is enough for me to want to differentiate the two. If having the rides actually be different, I think is a great thing, because what it does is it covers both sides. Someone like me who wants to feel like this ride is exclusive, it covers that, and then someone who just wants the ride in general, it covers that as well. So I am totally on board, but my only thing is, like with like Rise of the Resistance, it's like an exact clone. So it's like
Yeah.
I wish they would have done things a little bit differently, but I get it. But I don't think it would. I mean, I'm not anywhere involved in the company, so I can't speak on business matters, but I don't think it would cost that much to make it a little bit different between the parts. And Brittany is leaving us. I just want to say bye, Brittany. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, guys. Thank
Bye.
you.
So I don't think it would cost that much more to make something just a hair different, and I would enjoy it just as much, and it would give me a reason to go to the other park and check that as well. I mean, it's not like I'm not going to go to the other parks. I'm going to go there just because, I mean, it's in my blood. It's like in my DNA. I grew up by Disney, so I have to go to every Disney park. But but you know, I I do like having that exclusivity. It makes, feel like, oh, you can only ride this here. It makes it more, it also makes it more exciting to come back to. Because when you come back to Walt Disney World and you've ridden Tron or whatever other attraction somewhere else and it's not the same, it makes it, hey, I get to come back home and ride my version. So it makes it more fun, I guess. Do you have any thoughts on that, Michael?
No, I think when you start comparing the all the rides, for the minor tweaks, I think at that point, like Luella said, it's a reason to look forward to going, but I don't know if that's the whole reason I would go to Walt Disney World versus Disneyland just to see that one thing. I would go there to see the Avengers campus. I would go there to see Cars Land. And while I'm here, let me check out how their Haunted Mansion may be a little different than
Mhm.
mine. But I don't think I would book an entire trip because, hey, Space Mountain's a little different on the West Coast and the East Coast. Let's go out there just to see Space Mountain. So I
Yeah.
think it's the little perks that make you look forward to going. When I went to Disneyland Paris, it was because it was a whole new park. And yeah, let me check out Phantom Manor and see what they've got here, see if it's any good. But it
Excellent
wasn't the
attraction.
draw to the whole new park to fly to France.
Yeah.
And Phantom Manor is an excellent attraction, by the
Yeah,
way. If
that
you
was pretty
haven't
cool.
been on it, please go. Well, Disneyland Paris is an excellent park that at least the time that I went there was not overly packed, and it was a great park. The only ride there that I can honestly say that I did not enjoy was the Indiana Jones coaster. That was the only one because that was kind of scary, but everything else was fun.
And I don't do coasters, so I was very okay with avoiding that ride. I thought it was going to be California, but when I was speaking with them and I saw the track outside, I'm like, I don't think I'm riding this. So it was okay skipping.
So let me ask you, Michael. You said you have no interest in going to Asia parks or anything, and just keeping in line with the park theme here. What is it? Just not getting over to those areas in general, or just it's just not enough of a difference between the parks to get you over there, or
Oh, yeah, less about the interest and more about the trip. There's other places in the world I'm still waiting to see.
hmm
I need to get to Italy. I need to get to Malta. When I travel, it is not all about Disney. I know people take 2, 3 trips a year and they only go to Disney. That's fine if it's your thing. I'm from the mind of don't be one of those people who goes to their grave having only seen Disney in their own hometown. There's a lot to explore. So, yeah, I mean, Asian cuisine, not one of my favorites. So going there and worry about what I'm going to eat. I have enough problem going to Jamaica and finding things to eat. And that's 2 hour flight away. So at some point I'll probably get there, but I don't see myself in that part of the world to add that trip in. Like when I went to Disneyland Paris, I was visiting relatives in England, and they dropped me off at their local train station. And I somehow found my way from, I mean, it was really the terminus of their local train. Found my way to King's Cross, found my way to the Eurostar, found my way without having any clue. I did no research on the park, didn't want to know anything about it, had no idea where I was going, found my way to and from, and had a great time. But I happened to be there, but I didn't go to Paris just to say I went to Disney. Although I did go to Disney, get back on the Eurostar, and went back to England. So I think I spent 2 nights, 3 days, which is probably a little too much for that park. But they conned me into buying a 3-day pass, and I made the most of it.
well, I mean, between the two parks, 3 days is a good amount. I mean, really, I mean, you could probably do Paris in 2 days. I mean, well, one day at the studios and then one day at Disneyland. So yeah, I don't know. I only had time for one day, so I just did Disneyland. I need to get back and do studios because I really want to ride the Crush coaster. But now I want to get to Zootopia in Shanghai, so that's like top of my list. And that Zootopia world looks absolutely incredible,
Mhm.
and the animatronics they have in there, um, and I believe I'm speaking of animatronics. I believe that it was at Disneyland where they were testing the new robots in Galaxy's Edge. There's like a new prototype of robot that Disney R&D came up with, and they didn't make it specifically for Galaxy's Edge, but they just made it and it looked like something, and they actually walk and like it's. If you haven't seen them, look them up. I'm pretty sure they had them in Disneyland already, but they are really awesome, and they just walk around like and just do their own thing, and they are actually really cool to look at. Let me see. I don't remember the actual name. But they just were. I think it was in December is when they were in the park.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've
Yeah, you can
seen
always
them.
throw a link to the page.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw something on there right now. I just found it here. But yeah, they had them. Yeah, they had them in here. I'll show you a picture. These are what they look like. So you guys, you can't really see.
We
Hold on
can't
one
really
second.
see it.
Yeah, I'm
It's really
trying to share
bad.
the picture so you can see. But yeah, they were actually really interesting. And they have like their own. They almost have like their own like personalities. It's actually really cool. Let me try to get this so I can post it on the screen so you guys can see. Give me 1 second. I'll get it right now. Okay, I'm gonna post it on this so you guys can see right now. Here we go. Okay. Coming right now. This is them right here. These little guys. They were walking around a
Oh,
Galaxy's
yeah.
Edge.
I had heard about that they were walking around Galaxy's Edge. Yes. I didn't see
Yes.
it myself. Wasn't there in December, but yeah, I heard about those.
And they're actually like it's crazy to think like the big story for those robots was not the fact that they were in the parks. It was just the fact that Disney had actually created those robots. Like a entertainment company had created something like that. That was the big story. But yeah, they're actually, if you look at the tech behind them, they're actually very advanced. I believe that they have the AI inside of them as well. So they are AI controlled and can kind of walk around and do their own thing and learn their surroundings and just kind of be on their own. So they're actually
Wow.
they're very intelligent. Yeah. Yeah. So I haven't I of course I've only seen like a 5 or 10 second clip of them walking around the park. I'm sure there's more on YouTube. You can look it up and see the video of it. But that was pretty amazing. And I know they also did some amazing robotics for Zootopia. I believe it was a Judy Hopps robot that they made that could actually like roll over and tumble and do
Oh, wow.
like all kinds of crazy stuff. So it was
Hmm.
actually really cool to see. They did a demonstration of it with Josh Damaro, and that'll be rolling out in Zootopia pretty soon here. So the this year, I think for the Disney parks is going to be pretty exciting. My only concern is they've done things like this in the past. They had I don't know if any of you remember this, but there was a Bunsen honeydew and beaker like robot thing that would like it was like some sort of like contraption they made that goes on one wheel and kind of bounces itself and rolls through the parks and does like a whole show. And they had it at Disneyland and they had it at Disney World, and they were testing it out and they brought it out at Disney World for a little while, like maybe like 3 months. This was like 3 or 4 years ago, and no one really cared. No one, it was just like, okay, that's great. And people just walked on. And that's my same feeling with these things is when it comes to like the atmosphere, like the stuff that walks around, the streets and stuff, people don't seem to like, care as much as they do when it comes to like the actual attractions. They don't care as much about the like extra theming things like that. That's just what I've seen. I mean, people kind of said, "Oh, that's great," and then went about their day, and then Disney just kind of stopped because it wasn't really gaining that much attention. People just didn't really care. and I hope the same doesn't apply to some of these new roles because they're actually the technology in them is really amazing. So I really hope that people can kind of get into it. So Disney kind of builds on this stuff because this stuff would be really awesome in attractions, and we've already seen what the artificial intelligence can do with voices and having conversations. And we've seen last year at the IAPA Expo a lot of conversational animatronics that can have full-on conversations with you because they have the AI built into them. And this would be prime stuff for Disney. I mean, if they could bring something out where you could actually have a conversation with it that doesn't require any human interaction and you could just talk to it, I I mean, that would be like the coolest thing. I would be like, "Oh my god, that's so cool." I mean, it'd be scary and cool at the same time, but more cool than scary.
Well,
See,
I was. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
no, I
Scott.
was. Oh, yeah.
Uh, I don't know if I had mentioned it, but I did the Halcyon. I did the what was it called? Oh my
Star
gosh,
Cruiser.
Star Cruiser.
Yeah, yeah.
I did Star Cruiser, and in at night, when you talk to your kind of like your
The
robot
robot in the in the
in
room.
this, that could change a lot of how you answer. So they were using that technology there. It was very different how I answered versus how my brother-in-law next door answered. They got a bedtime story. We didn't get we got a poem. Just so I wouldn't doubt that they're already doing that stuff.
Hmm.
Maybe they're doing it in different ways and testing it all out. I think there's a lot of testing going on in that halcyon.
I totally forgot about that, and I think the reason why I
Hmm.
forgot about it is because that was one of the things that people said didn't work the best when it came to the galactic cruiser experience. That was probably the one of the weakest points of the experience, even though that was supposed to be like a more advanced like Siri type setup from what I understood, but I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. Yeah.
Mhm.
Then
So
I always wonder, like, what is the end game? You introduce Lucky the dinosaur, you introduce the Muppet Mobile Labs. Maybe
Yes,
it takes
Muffet
off,
Mobile
maybe it
Labs. That's
doesn't.
what it was.
But it's there's got to be a bigger gain to it than just this free roaming Bunsen Honeydew and
mhm.
Beaker. And they put a lot of money into it, and it wasn't just something generic. So you develop these characters, but where are you going with it? You bring out
Hmm.
the Judy Hopps, and then okay, look, we have this cute little robot that is on skates, and she does a flip, and she gets up, and she can move. So where are you going with it? And I don't know how long it takes for them to start incorporating that technology into a ride or into small robots that are free roaming.
Hmm.
Do you make a bigger R2D2 that more people will flock to than small indiscriminate robots that people may or may not know?
Well, not only that,
Halcyon,
I would not be surprised if they're already working on that for
that's what I
interactions
mean.
with the characters
Right.
as well, because
Yep.
I we all know there was talking Mickey Mouse for a while,
Hmm.
which that basically worked off a from what I understand, and not to spoil the magic, but that worked off a set of like it would say one thing and then it could like kind of like a choose your own adventure. You could go, it says one thing and then it could go either other direction. It could kind of choose what it said next and so on and so forth. And it had different, and you could ask it questions and it would have different answers for each question. Like um, if you asked Mickey like when he was going to marry Minnie, he would get all nervous and shy, and then like you would hear this weird tone come from him, and he'd be like, and he'd get all nervous. So there were I know they're active. They have to be actively working on that. Obviously, back then they really didn't have the same AI capabilities that they do now. But it's amazing. Like I've seen things come out where they can clone voices to a T and then have them have full on conversations with people in those voices. So it's definitely something that's coming, and it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out in the next year because it's all evolving so fast. It's like every week there's new benchmarks that they hit when it comes to AI. So I would not be surprised if sometime this year we see something with the characters or something that involves talking and being more conversational with the guests.
Can't wait to see where this stuff goes. I mean, hopefully it all comes to fruition. If you remember, and they probably said the same thing for Disneyland when they were developing Galaxy's Edge and the technology and how you performed on the Millennium Falcon ride. You could go into Oga's and you could interact. That all went out the window. I think a lot of it was blue sky and, hey, we're going to have all this cool stuff. But at the end of the day, like, that's not why people are getting on the ride. And they're going to go to Oga's, whether they interact with them or not, pay your $20 for a drink. We're fine. We don't need you in there longer than 45 minutes. We don't want the long interaction. They I guess they wanted it, but they couldn't figure out how to make it happen. I don't know what happened there, but that all went away, unfortunately.
Well, I kind of think, having done the Galactic Star Cruiser, that was a lot of the plans that they wanted to do in Galaxy's Edge, but they put it in a smaller format. Because I remember seeing what all the blue sky was. So I think they attempted it, but I don't think in such a big scale that they can successfully execute it. I could be wrong, but a lot of the stuff at Galaxy's Edge was all the stuff that I was expecting to see. I mean, in the Galactic Star Cruiser was everything that I thought I was going to see in Galaxy's Edge.
I think the ideas were great. I just don't think the technology was there yet. And I think this year with how far we've come last year with things like Chat GPT and other AI chatbots, I think that that the technology is available now. I think we're there. I think that eventually, I mean, I was one of the first ones to purchase the Rabbit R1. If you haven't seen that, look up the Rabbit R1, which is basically a conversational AI device that goes in your pocket, which you can do so many things with. If you haven't looked it up, it's if what they posted the video of it doing versus and it actually does it in real life, it'll be one of the most innovative pieces of tech there ever was. Or there has been in years. But I think that's where our phones are going to go. I think that's where everything is going to go. And because we've gotten so far with the AI and having these conversations, so I just don't see it that far off that we can have, especially character interactions that are conversational. I don't see how that doesn't happen.
Makes sense.
And thank you for reminding me of the name of that, the Muffet Mobile Lab, because I totally forgot. But yes, and every now and again they bring it out. They bring it out like it makes an appearance at Epcot like once in a blue moon when it's like super busy, and it gathers like a small crowd and no one really cares, and they move on and which I still think it's cool. So
move it over to Hollywood Studios and put it in the Muppet Courtyard, and maybe you'll get more of a tie-in rather than put it in Epcot, where, I mean, yes, they have the brewing lab now, or they did during Food and Wine. So, put it where we need it, or where it makes sense, I guess I should say.
all right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show. We appreciate everyone who joined live with us today. We appreciate Brittany, Luella, Michael, all you guys for joining with us. Like I said, we are constantly evolving and getting better. And we will of course. I promise you, by the time we do a show next week, that we will have something available to download. I'm making that promise. I'm setting that task for myself. So this weekend, when I have a lot of free time, I will definitely get something uploaded to something that we have something to download, other than the live stream, which you can always watch. And you can always see our past episodes on YouTube if you haven't already. So be on the lookout for that. And once I get that set up, we will go from there and share those links for you and get all the socials and everything going. But yes, that being said, it's been a pleasure. Do you guys have anything else to say before we wrap this up?
No, just a Happy New Year. We didn't.
Yeah,
Happy
That's
New
true.
Year, 2024. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks everyone for coming with us into the new year. It's going to be a great year. We'll be here every Tuesday, recording this live. And once I get the podcast episodes out, then we'll start figuring out a date. I would imagine that the first few episodes that we've already done, I'll just push out kind of in bulk and let those go so we can get on a regular schedule of having them out every week. But we will work on that too. But yes, thank you guys for joining us, and have a great rest of your week and happy new year. And here's to an awesome 2024.
Very good.
All right, guys.
Great night.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye bye.